Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. We are your multi-award winning Tottenham Hotspur podcast, and we are returning ahead of a big weekend for Tottenham in the Premier League. Leicester City on the horizon. The games are coming thick and fast. The turnarounds, my God, we're quite here, there and everywhere at the moment. Listen, thank you so much for joining us. If you're with us for the very first time, you can find us on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we're across all major audio platforms. We're of course on X, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we're on Blue Sky too. And I'm joined by a top-tier panel to discuss, debate, break down everything what is happening around Tottenham right now as we are slowly creeping up to the final week and a half of the January transfer window. And Postecoglou pleading for help, really stressing how much he needs the help. And yet, at the moment, we still stand on the alternative goalkeeper, Kingsley being Spurs' only signing of this January window so far. We'll be discussing how big is that Leicester City game for Tottenham Hotspur in the course of this season. Of course, Sunday, 2 o'clock for our UK viewers and listeners that time. It's a massive game in the context of Spurs' season. They're being linked Tottenham in the last 24, 48 hours whenever you pick up this show. Links to the likes of Brobbey, Ferguson, Cunha will give you the latest news on all things Tottenham, where we are in the window of opportunity. And of course, as we mentioned, how big this week is for Tottenham domestically to get our season back on track. I'm joined by returning Christina Zandes is back on the show. Chris always on here is trying to keep us together, keep us believing, although it's been testing and challenging. Lovely to see you, Chris. We're also joined by the wonderful Jonny Hammé, returning to the show. He always tells it as it is. And we're joined by, he needs no introduction, we've got the wonderful Dave over at the Irish Hotspur, your man to turn to, go-to coverage, of course, on a match day and more over there. Football Link, I must just say as well, for Jonny and Shawnee. Bless them, they've got that little project on the side there. Make sure you go and hitting that subscribe button for them. And keep liking and subscribing throughout this busy month that we've got here on Last Word on Spurs. The games are thick and fast. The shows are thick and fast. And quite honestly, as we know, we talk about thick and fast. For the players, it's also been thick and fast. And we've just come off the back there, for those that obviously are aware in the last 24, 48 hours, of a Tottenham win. And a win that, for many fans, will calm some of the nerves out there in relation to Spurs and where the season is heading in general. I mean, look, it was a Tottenham team that did progress against Hoffenheim in, you have to say, I know many won't like me using this term, absurd squad situation circumstances where they finished the game with 5 teenagers on the pitch, 2 17-year-olds, and one of them making his debut. And those 2 18-year-olds and a 19-year-old in Will Lancashire kind of emphasise at the moment just how much Spurs are down to the bare bones. But I still know out there's an element of people needing and wanting to see progression in terms of results. And that win against Hoffenheim did, of course, continue our recent victories in the Cup. And it's a night where, contrary to what many might think out there, Postecoglou's senior players truly did step up for him and give him a really important win, which takes into account now just how big Sunday is for Tottenham in the Premier League. And again, we have to bring this point onto it, bring it over to you, Jay. You know, we know there's different views out there where people are with regards to Ange Postecoglou right now. But there's no doubt about it, Jay. It's a massive week for the football club in the context of the season in general, where Leicester, I'm sure as you'll tell us here, becomes a must-win game for Tottenham.
Yeah, it's a must-win game. They haven't won in 7 games and managed to score a massive 2 goals in those 7 games. So, like when we entered the Everton game, cue Leicester windfall. Listen, look, they've got a lot of players out. There can't be any excuses for this one. Yes, they've had a week to prepare, but they really are a poor football team. I put them right up there with Southampton. They can't buy a goal and they can't buy a win. But I just think we should have too much for them. I am expecting us to win. But judging by what we saw last night, there's still a lot of defensive frailties. You know, any team that gives up 23 chances to a team missing 9 players, you know, let's be honest, you know, that thank God they can't finish and they couldn't defend last night. So that was our saving grace. But listen, it was all positive. We're through. You know, we're likely to be through to the next round. And I just would like to have a massive congratulations to Callum Oluwesi. who got his debut last night. Dave and I have been following him and talking about him for a long time. Best friends with Mikey Moore since about the age of 5. They come through at Spurs, and it was lovely to see him get a brief cameo last night. Again, he's only 17 years of age, same as Mikey, but the future is bright with the youth, and things might look dark at the moment, but I think over the next 18 months, some of these exciting kids are going to be, the older ones will be handing over the baton to these kids, and hopefully there'll be some positive. But it's a tough game against the Foxes. As bad as they are, we are struggling for confidence. And, we saw we saw Archie Gray and Bergvall collapse on the ground. And I'll be honest with you, I think Gray needs a rest. So will our dear leader drop Archie to the bench to give him the much needed rest, because he has to play on Thursday, and bring in Reggie to play at left back? I know that might be a bit controversial to some people, but if Spence is out and Porro's knackered, for me, it's got to be Radu and Davis with Porro and Reggie. Not what we want. And there's no one in the midfield. So it will be a test, but I'm confident.
I agree, Jay. Look, I think as we see there, I know many have commented on where Spurs are in terms of their injury crisis at the moment, and it is, you'd say fairly unprecedented. I know we had a period over last season, come over to you, Chris, that we are acutely aware just how important results are right now. And look, many dramatised it as being a massive, massive week for the football club. They've got that huge win against Hoffenheim. Whatever you think about the performance, I think many would just say, look, getting the job done is really important. And I think it emphasises, as Jay said there at the end there, you've got players collapsing on the pitch, physically knackered, that do need a rest, and these players have got to go again. We've emphasised how much they need help during this transfer window, and how much, in reality, there needs to be, you feel, some back into Ange Postecoglou, whether you do feel he's the right or the wrong man for the job. Right now, these players do need help, and I think, Chris, I'm sure you'll agree that where we are right now in the transfer window, we'll come on to some recent links in the last 24 hours. He needs some help, and he's stressed that really throughout the window and before that as well, Chris. Is that right, you'd say?
I mean, the players literally are collapsing on the pitch. Is that not a cry for help? Literally, it's just absolutely ridiculous. But, forget about, at least we got the job done yesterday. Performance-wise, it wasn't great, but I did like the attitude after the game as well from the players. I thought Maddison's, his interview afterwards was really good. And the way he is just, with the youngsters, he's really pushing them out there. And I really like that from Madders. I'm fair play to him for doing that. It's just something that's really important with all these youngsters that we've now got in. And they are great. They're huge talents for the future, for sure. We just need these people that have come with Maddison, with Sonny, they need to be encouraging these youngsters. And that's why we need more experienced players coming in, because we need to have that leadership on the pitch for all these youngsters. And I thought that was really good from Madders. Great attitudes from him. But, this Leicester game coming up now, we really need to be behind the team. I feel really sorry for them. For Sonny, most importantly, he's had a lot of criticism. I just feel he's under a huge amount of pressure, and he is absolutely knackered. You can just so tell. He's just running really low on fuel at the moment, and I really feel for him. He's getting a lot of comments from fans, and it's understandable because we are playing pretty poorly. I get it, but you've got to understand this guy needs help. It's ever since Kane has left, he's basically been the one to cover up. Been the next Harry Kane. But he hasn't got the same help at all. So I feel really sorry for him. And I was really glad to see that he did get those 2 goals, because I think he's been lacking a hell of a lot of confidence recently. So I'm hoping with that, he will, bring it on for the Sunday game, because we really, really need to bring, that urge, and we need to get some goals. But as well, we need the fans to be backing our players at the moment, because I saw a lot of negative comments from Maddison uploading a photo of, the players celebrating yesterday. And I just don't like that attitude, to be fair, from the fans, because I felt it was more for the young players. They did a good job. They got the job done.
I think the circumstance of that image is one of those where you're 15th in the Premier League. You're going to be judged quite
But
harshly
that
by
to
uploading an
me,
image. But I think that was more. I agree with you. I think that was more towards the kind of morale of the win, the nature of the fact there's a lot of young players on the pitch there and celebrating that, Chris, right?
Exactly. And that's what I expect that attitude, that all those comments from the Gooners, all of those negative. Like, if you're going to be negative, just don't say anything. Just give the boys like a little bit of a boost. That was it. So I just hope to see the fans that go on Sunday. We just like really get behind them, because they all need it. They're absolutely knackered, and they're doing the best that they can at the moment. I mean, they're crying out for help, exactly like we've just said there. So I'm hoping to see something, and it is going to be important 3 points if we get them. And I'm going to be positive. I'm hoping that we should get those 3 points for sure. So yeah,
that picture was united. That picture did say united. We are together. We're all in this together. That's what that picture was about. I'm the first one to criticize, but that's what that image was about. We're here. We might be bad. We might be going through a tough time, but look at us. We're all together. We're all in this unit. And I thought I actually applauded that. I criticised other things, but I thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, Dave, bringing you in there, I think we don't get away from just how big that win was against Hoffenheim, just in terms of confidence, right? I mean, we spoke a lot about trying to find that confidence, trying to get that confidence back. We mentioned how big the Leicester game is on the weekend. We're going to bring in, obviously, Andrew's comment shortly ahead of that one, and just how much he emphasises now that he's working with a very much limited squad in terms of resources available to him. And since that point, also, we understand some of the more couple of knocks in there with Sarr and Spence also potentially unavailable for this. Dave, how much of a testing period is this right now for Ange and the squad that he's got there? And how surprised are you that you're here a week later and there's still no movement in the window?
Yeah, look, it's testing times right now. Every time we seem to be getting one or two back or expecting one or two back, 3 or 4 end up going out. The situation just isn't alleviating whatsoever. And you could see off the back of that Hoffenheim game yesterday, when players are dropping to the deck like that, I very rarely see that at Tottenham Hotspur after 90 minutes, players dropping to the deck like that. It's clear that they're fatigued and they need help, but help is slow in coming for one reason or another. Now, look, in fairness, Jason McGovern gave a breakdown yesterday, a great breakdown in terms of the squad and stuff like that. But the situation we're in now, if you just bring in a better player than one that we've already got, just take them out of the squad. At the end of the day, you can still carry extra players across the league. We need.
It's not our job. Right, it's not our job to solve this as well, Dave. I must say that it's not our job to solve this. That's why they've got a board there and a hierarchy there and a technical staff there to sort this out, Dave. Let you come back in there.
No, 100%. And, the thing is, I know it goes against their business practice, right? It's not a good business practice to carry extra wages of players that aren't going to be used, but we've done that for years. It shouldn't be any problem to do it, especially in the time that we're in now where we need bodies. But look, off the back of the Hoffenheim game yesterday, I think I was a bit disappointed with some of the reaction I've seen to the performance in general. I think there has to be an understanding that these players are fatigued. They're out on their feet. There was always going to be a massive drop-off in the second half of yesterday's game where they were going to sit back. It's been a pattern in recent weeks where we're trying to go 4 games in the first half and look to consolidate what we have in the second half. Last night, I think, obviously, we didn't. I think there was a lot of naivety within the performance. Again, we missed big chances earlier on in the game where we could have had a better lead going into half time. At times where we were under the cosh towards the end of the half and early in the second half, we're just ballooning the ball along, making it difficult on ourselves. Get some composure, look to keep possession, kill them that way. That way you don't have to move as much like we did towards the end of the game. Knocking around and one-touch stuff, not having to move as much, but you're in control of the game. And I think that's one area we need to look at, even though we are fatigued, even in the second half. Don't just drop off and allow them to cross the ball into the box. We're not good enough to defend like that. We never have been at Tottenham Hotspur. So just get in control of the ball and look to keep possession as a different way around it. So that way you won't see as much of a drop-off in the second half and give the team, a lifeline or a hope, which is essentially what we're giving them. But look, heading into this Leicester game, I think it's absolutely massive. I don't really expect too much of a massive performance. We've already struggled this season at the best of times off the back of Europe. Most teams do. But for me right now, it's just about pulling together, grinding results out, putting some wins on the board until we get players back, and then we can start looking at maybe expecting better performances from this Tottenham team. But we've a massive opportunity. You beat Leicester, you probably go, 11 points above the relegation zone. You'd like to think with the teams down there, they're not going to make that up. That staves off that talk, relieves a bit of pressure. You do what you need to do against Elfsborg there on Thursday night. And then you go into that Liverpool Carabao Cup game, which is what we're all sitting here hinging our hopes on. And look, this is where I think it's disappointing that the board haven't acted, because the last time we were in maybe a similar situation was under one day Ramos, all the way back in 2008, 2009. But in the summer, they had sold Robbie Keane and Berbatov. They ended up sacking him, brought Harry Redknapp back. They brought Robbie Keane back, and look at the impact it made on the club going forward. For me, I think there's a huge opportunity this January to try and bring in one or two players of real quality, and you never know, they might actually make the difference against Liverpool up at Anfield, help us get over the line. So for me, this last week, we have to act. Unfortunately, I think we're going to end up getting your usual, the Danjuma or Timo Werner sort of loan deal and your contract extension on deadline day, which we're so used to in January. We really need to pull a rabbit out of the hat like Paratici done with Bentancur and Kulusevski this January.
Agree. I totally agree on that. And look, I said when we discuss what we need to do this window, I think it's very apparent Spurs are going to need to bring players in and faster support and Postecoglou. In relation to where we are in that window, Spurs in the last 24, 48 hours have again been linked with a couple of names out there in terms on the grapevine. We'll bring to you what we understand is the latest news on some of those names that have been linked to the football club. News breaking on Friday afternoon, Friday evening, for those that are aware or wasn't aware of this, that there is an apparent interest in regards to the Ajax forward Brobbey. This is a Brobbey, shall I say? That's good. A good start, isn't it? Brobbey, a player that, to be fair, hasn't had the greatest goal scoring record so far. It's fair to say in his Ajax career. Spurs, different reports out there from friend of the show, Paul O'Keefe, who says Spurs are considering an approach to sign him and investigated possibly through third parties. Fabrizio Romano has said that he's one of the options being considered at the moment by Tottenham. And he's also being considered along with West Ham as well, and that are in direct talks for a loan plus an obligation. Michael Bridge, of course, friend of the show, says at the moment there has been talk about Spurs entering the race for the Ajax forward, but his understanding is that it is not the case. Tottenham are in for a forward, but he doesn't understand that Brobbey is that forward Spurs are targeting. This comes off the back of the news, just to be very, very clear, that Ange Postecoglou does expect Dominic Solanke to be missing for 6 weeks following that recent injury setback, which is a massive, massive blow to the football club. It will rule him out 100% of that second leg tie against Liverpool in the Carabao Cup. It will also potentially rule him out if Tottenham do get there to the Carabao Cup final, which again, Dominic, I think, has been such an important player in terms of that high press he offers Spurs, that he's a massive, massive blow. And we have to hope Richarlison is going to keep fit. I mean, coming back round to you, Jay, I know you've been doing some digging for us in terms of this forward stats, Brobbey. I mean, what do you make of him? Tell us a little bit about him and whether he'd be a player that would actually have an impact straight away for Tottenham.
I'm not quite sure how he's going to have an impact when, he's played 29 games this season and scored 3 goals, 7 assists. I mean, listen, he's quick, he's strong, he's powerful, not very good out of possession. I don't think he works in this system at all. We already have players that don't track back and don't help out. And he's not versatile for me. I think the type of player that Ange wants is a player that can play centre forward, play on the left wing, play on the right wing, maybe drop back in a variety of positions. And for me, listen, he's still, young, he's 22, right-footed Ghanaian, but I just don't see it at all. I mean, are we going to go down the same route? We got all excited. Well, I got all excited. As Dave mentioned before, I thought we were going to sign Trossard and we ended up with Danjuma. Or are we going to end up with another Gregor Rasiak who's as good as, as much use as a mop and bucket? We need quality. We need quality. If you turn around to me and said to me, we're going to sign Matheus Cunha, I'm getting excited. The fan base is getting excited. This is a guy that's played in 6 positions this season, right? He's played centre forward. He's played attacking midfield. He's played as a second striker. He's played left wing, right wing. Interestingly enough, though, the only position he hasn't scored a goal in is a centre forward. He's only played it twice, but he is absolute class. I mean, he draws players in. His crossing, his invention, how he sees the game, just everything about him is absolute class. And my big worry is that he's going to end up going to somewhere like Arsenal. And I mean, he would fit right in. He would fit right into that team. But for me, 26 goals, 13 assists in 78 games, an XG of 4.64 and, 10 goals this season for a very poor side. He's been out injured as well. He's just everything that you would want in a player, and he's exciting, and he's got Spurs written all over him. And he's still young. He's just 25, I think. So, but Spurs fans want that type of signing. But what we're being fed is the likes of, Brobbey, Ebenezer, Geezer, Brobbey, and, Ansu Fati, who can't get a game, who's been injured, who Brighton don't even want. I think the fans and this fan base, and even Ange, I might not be Ange's biggest fan, but he needs to be backed. The situation is such, the ball need to get off their hands, open up their wallets, and start delivering some players that we can judge this team rightly by, the quality that's there. It deserves better quality. The fans deserve better quality. There's room in our wages. We reduced the wages by £30 million, obviously to draw in better investment at a higher rate for Levy. But this is a football club. There's room for a quality player on quality wages, and it's time to act now. Because if we don't, and we bring in another also-ran or another Jobsworth that's just going to fill in, we might as well, give up here. Give them all a chance. Give us a chance. Give us some bloody hope.
Yeah, I mean, before I bring Chris back in there, Dave, come over to you. And the links to this player I will bring it back to. This is obviously Brobbey, that it doesn't spark you with much of confidence of the kind of caliber of player we're going for in terms of when you look at his ratio of goals. I think he's only scored 3 in the last 29 games in his appearances for Ajax. It doesn't fill you with a huge amount of confidence that this player is going to be able to really step up in a new league where you have got that kind of form. I mean, does that concern you, Dave, by the nature of who we've been linked with right now? Or are we literally at a point now where our hands will be tied going into the final 7, 8, 9 days of the transfer window? And that does mean, unfortunately, that you might be taking a gamble. And is that also, dare I say, the wrong approach right now, where you've got to be bringing the right characters, the right profiles that are actually going to come in and hit the ground running, especially when you're losing Dominic Solanke for such a big period like we are for a big 6 weeks?
Look, first of all, I don't think this guy is the sort of guy that we should bring in here. He's not a guy that when you look at it straight away, he gets the fans' juices flowing and you go, he's a game changer. Scored, 3 goals this season, 1 in the league, which was a 2-yard tap-in and 2 in the Europa League qualifiers. Saying that, he banged in 22 goals last term, but he already got his move out of Ajax over to Leipzig, ended up back at Ajax, which shows, he didn't have the capability to be able to step up over there. But you also got to put it into comparison. What are we doing here as a football club? We've allowed Troy Parrott to go out to Holland. He scored 11 goals this term. This guy only has 3. So if that's the case, why not keep Troy Parrott back, or look to get Troy Parrott back instead of bringing this guy back? It's nowhere near good enough. But the reality is we shouldn't be in this situation where we're scrapping around in the last week of the window looking to try and get in a loan deal. And some of it almost is, it stinks like a panic, to try and get in a player to alleviate the fan pressure on them, which usually works. Look, for me, he's nowhere near good enough. He's not what we need. We've had all December, all November, Postecoglou's been calling for reinforcements, players to come in this door. The only player that they've brought in is a 21-year-old Kinski. It's nowhere near good enough. We need wingers. We need another forward player. You can't rely on Richarlison. Richarlison's prone to breaking down. No Solanke to march. We're in big trouble if Richarlison goes out. You need fullback cover. And we're sitting here 3 weeks into a window looking at a loan deal for a Brian Brobbey. Nowhere near good enough. Where's our ambition? And look, this all started in the summer. We're only in this position because we put ourselves in this position in the summer with the poor window we had, bringing in all the kids. The only player that we brought in to try and affect change in the first 11 was Dominic Solanke. And, for me, this is what annoys me. There was always going to have to be a realization within the club that they were going to have to spend extra on players this month. You're not going to have to spend a bit extra in the transfer fees than what you want. You're going to have to pay them a bit extra wages. Unfortunately, you're not in the position where you can negotiate. They have you bent over a table and you have to accept what they're asking for. But we're not prepared to do that. We are not prepared to go against the business model, break the business model to really help any manager at this football club really kick on. You know, I was on here last week. I said, you got what, 11 or 12 managers in the 20 odd years that ENIC have been here. That's a change in every 2 years. The problem is, you know, the first year goes well, and then the second year we end up sacking the manager because for some reason Daniel Levy never ever puts his full faith or full trait in him, and it's nowhere near good enough. You know, Postecoglou's under pressure right now, and fair enough, people can have their questions around whether he's good enough to lead Tottenham Hotspur or not. But there's no denying that we set him up for failure. Last January, we needed help. We didn't bring in the players. This summer, it was obvious we needed help off the evidence of the back end of the campaign. Didn't decide to bring in proper players to help the situation. And again, here in January, it's the exact same thing. It's not good enough from this football club. How are we left here in the last week of the window? Every day I turn on Sky Sports, I'm seeing Nottingham Forest bid for Johan Wiese. I'm seeing other clubs make an attempt to try and get players into their football club. And I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, what about Spurs news? Absolutely zilch.
Chris, I mean, I know, look, we know there's a definitive split right now in the fan base with regards to Ange and people's feelings on him, but I think everyone can agree, you know, he's been very much severely let down, I think, since he's really been here in the course of his time in terms of the windows. You know, when you look at the players that he's been given to work with, I've actually made this point now on several shows that I just feel when it comes to ENIC, the job itself now is becoming unworkable for anybody in terms of the conditions that you're having to try and get results and progressing. I just look at the way in which we are providing managers, if you want to use that word, providing. I mean, again, it's very a light word, providing, because I don't think we're providing much in terms of tools. What do you feel, Chris, going into this final week of the window? How much does he need the support? You know, you said at the very top of the show, you've got players that are quite simply collapsing on the pitch there. What do you feel needs to happen in these next days of the window to give Spurs the best possible chance to be able to progress in the cup competitions at least? I feel like we all know now, when you look at the league table, it pretty much is damaged limitations to some degree.
Same old Spurs, isn't it? That it's literally, we're going to be having this conversation in 2 years' time again. I bet you any money with a new manager. But, you know, this argument now, you're either Ange in or Ange out. And I said it like, if you're Ange in at the moment, you're moaning because, you know, he's not got the players. There's no backing. He's got hardly any control at the moment. All of his players are injured. And then if you're Ange out, you're moaning, why is he not fired? Why has he not been fired? What's going on here? Even, again, where's the signings coming from? And it all leads to, you know, one problem. It's the same problem each and every time 1 year. It's the problem is above. And, you know, it's just, I don't know how many times that we're going to have to deal with this. How many times the fans going to have to, you know, realise that this is the same problem from this guy that right there. It's just driving me insane as a Tottenham fan, because it's like I said, we're going to be having this conversation again in 2 years. I'm pretty sure with a new manager, we're all going to get hyped up. Oh yeah, new change, new way of, you know, new way of playing. Here we go again. And then they're not going to get backed. It's the same old story again and again. And this signing to me just screams panic buy. It's just someone to fill a space in, basically. I mean, if that was the case, we're signing him. Why did we not just keep Troy Parrott? Like, it makes no sense. It's just, it screams panic all over again. And I don't, you know, yesterday's performance, them all collapsing. What else do they want these guys to do? They're all youngsters. They are literally collapsing in front of our eyes. We are so desperate for signings to come in. And what? We've only had one, a goalkeeper, because we were literally on the brink of having no goalkeeper at one point, you know. I don't know what else we need to do. I don't understand for Ange either. Like, he's under immense, you know, pressure at the moment. It's just crazy. And I still to this day, I am Ange in, because even if you don't like the manager or not, he's not been backed. He's not been able to fulfill what he's wanted to get out of Tottenham to me. And that goes for any manager that comes in. Every manager should be backed, you know. It's just how it goes, football. But it's the same old story again and again. I don't know how many times we are going to have to keep up with this. Yeah. The fans, how much money as well that we be put into that stadium. How much times are we going to travel to go and see this team? We deserve better. It's just ridiculous.
I think,
yeah, go on.
I like you agree with there, Chris. I think the key is as well, I know there's certain comments, obviously Jason alluded to the fact last night, as Dave brought up at the start, that Spurs have got a situation around registration issues of trying to make room. But I will make this point, you know, to support a manager, you'll have to make the room. You know, this is the reality of where we're at right now. And I think this is something that's really important, Jason, making that point that we are very much heavily, criticised as a club, or, you know, for maybe not managing at times. Jason said the way in which we do manage that registration process. I think we've stumbled on it twice, as Jason alluded to, by our failure to be able to resolve that situation. But at the end of the day, you've got what you'd like to believe is people at that football club that are keeping an eye on these nature of things that are going on. And it is up to the football club to try and resolve this. And at the end of the day, when a manager needs backing, you've got to back him. And, you know, it's a way of finding a way. You know, Reguilon shouldn't have really been here beyond the summer. I think Ange Postecoglou made that clear. You know, it's very evident right now that you're going to probably see Reguilon maybe start at the weekend, given the nature of our injury concerns of where we are right now. I mean, Jay, I can see you've got your hand up there. How much is that a problematic thing for you in terms of the registration? Or do you feel whatever happens, they've got to make a way of trying to resolve this so the manager is going to have some support?
There's one man who's getting away scot-free, pardon the pun, is Scott Munn. He's been brought into this club, and he's been brought in to restructure everything, restructure the academy, which was doing very well. Thank you very much, Scott, before you came along and got rid of Gabonini and everybody else, and Steinson, and there's only Scalding left. And then you got rid of the scouting network, Scott. Very good, great. And we're going to go down the data route. That's worked well. He's ripped apart everything to restructure what exactly? How have we benefited from Scott Munn's restructuring? He's brought in Johan Lange, who Dave and I won't bore you what Dave and I think of Johan Lange, but this is the guy that brought in Steven Gerrard into Villa, a guy who was demoted to looking after the youth. But we saw an opportunity to make him the head of our department rather than Gabonini, who was working hand in glove with Fabio so brilliantly when we were bringing in quality players. Like was mentioned before, when we brought in Bentancur and Kulu in that January transfer window and transformed us because they make it happen. Yes, they're out in the open. Yes, he's flamboyant. Yeah, he sat on the bench and all of that. But at the end of the day, we could see he was there. We see, you know, there's been pictures of him up and down the corridor still on his phone. Lange operates in a different manner. But unless he's going to bring out someone like Van der Vaart, I don't remember. I mean, people are in the chat here. Tell me, who was the last signing that you got that you thought, wow? And for me, it was Van der Vaart. That was the last time I got excited about a signing because he was top draw. We don't do top draw. So no disrespect to Dom Solanke, you know, he works his heart.
Absolutely, yeah.
You know, he's not of that level. And, you know, if we were a club, we were sold the dream. We're going to move to this new stadium. We're going to have the money to compete with the best. Not we're going to be bringing in players of a lower class than a team with ambition. If we had ambition, we would be taking the risks of bringing in more wages on high, bigger signings. Because let's be honest, 2 world-class signings right now for say 60, 70 million. I'm not saying, you know, if we were taking the risk and we were bringing them in, game changers, who knows where we would be? Well, who knows where we would be? But we're not doing it. We're sat on our hands. And, you know, what has this department been doing for months? You know, it's no shock that we needed players in this window. No shock whatsoever. And yet we've sat here and we're on day, what are we, day 24, are we now?
Day 24. Yep, that's
day
right.
24. And as Dave said, we brought in a blooming goalkeeper.
I think, again, I'll make that point, you know, and many will allude back to it, you know, with regards to the registration. You have to find a way to be able to support the manager in a way in which he's going to be able to get tools in that is going to be able to give him the best possible chance to succeed in this second half of the season. I mean, Dave, Spurs have been linked to...
Like Doherty, you mean? Like Doherty, you mean? Like where they completely forgot.
Yeah. I mean, look, this one they've been linked to here. It's an interesting, again, maybe interesting for some. Spurs are reportedly interested in seeing an opportunity over Ivan Ferguson. I think this one will probably go right down to the wire, given the fact that this player is of an interest to many clubs out there. I mean, it kind of tells you where we are right now, that the reports out there are that Spurs are being linked along with Bournemouth, Everton and Fulham for the player. This is coming from the Mail. And, I think the manager of Brighton is very much happy for Ferguson to go out on loan, but it kind of just shows where we are right now and where we're shopping around, that we're going to Brighton now for players to try and get out on loan. I mean, Dave, look, I actually don't mind Ferguson as a player. I think he's a decent young player, could work for Tottenham, but does that kind of show where we're kind of dropping down to now, that we're no disrespect, we're in that market now with Bournemouth, Everton and Fulham inquiring for player targets?
Look, I'm not surprised we're in this sort of market, to be brutally honest with you. Look, I'll get on to Evan Ferguson in just a moment on why I think he's actually not the right guy to come into this situation right now. But massive part of the reason why we're in this situation with a week to go in the transfer window and we can't get deals done is because of the way Johan Lang operates. He likes to keep everything quiet, likes to keep everything in-house, which therefore, if you go to a club, they have all the negotiating power because you're not spinning any other plates, and they know that. With Paratici, he put out a load of smoke screens, so he had people chasing shadows everywhere. Why was he negotiating a deal over here? And the reason why he usually got very good deals for this football club is because he could turn around to them in negotiations and say, that's fine, I'll walk away, I've got 4 other players lined up. You want the money or not? So I do think the way Johan Lang operates in the market is actually counterproductive to us getting deals done. So I think that's a massive reason why we're sitting here where we are. And it was the same in the summer, same in January, last January. Just cannot get the deals done. And I think the way he operates snookers himself. But moving on to Evan Ferguson, look, the whole reason why Brighton are looking to get Evan Ferguson out on loan is because he initially burst onto the scene. He was looking like the next Harry Kane. He's big, strong. He can hold up the ball. He can score outside the box, score inside the box, score with his head. He's a very, very good all-round striker. However, the last season and a bit, he's had real injury problems, where he hasn't been able to get himself on the football pitch. Now, the last month or so, he's been back, but he's still nowhere near fitness. And what Brighton are trying to do is loan him out to see if he can rediscover that form and protect his transfer value. So when he comes back in the summer, they can decide whether then to sell him on or not. But with his injuries over the last couple of seasons, over the last season and a half, it's not going to alleviate the situation we're in right now. Again, you're already taking a risk. You've got Richarlison, who's been injury prone for the last, 2 seasons since he's been here. So for me, I think it's a huge risk if you bring in someone like Evan Ferguson, because there's no guarantee that he's going to stay fit. Now, of course, there's no guarantee that any signing you make is going to stay fit. But with his injury record over the last while, I think it's a big gamble. Now, if I think Tottenham do end up bringing him in, I think it's a view with maybe looking to get an obligation or an option to buy. So if he does come good, they might bring him in and look to have him here as our future up-and-coming striker going forward. But make no words about it, it is a huge, huge gamble in terms of his fitness. But if we can get him fit, he is a very, very good player.
Dave, thanks so much on that. I mean, Chris, coming over to you, how imperative do you feel it is that Spurs do sign another striker before the end of the window? We know obviously Richarlison is back now in terms of training. He will be he's featured in the last couple of games now in terms of coming off the bench. Do you feel that he's got the ability to step up? Because we're looking at Richarlison now probably playing, every 3 or 4 days now for a good consistent period. I mean, we've seen, Chris, already that how much his body has broken down over the course of this season alone. You're pulling a face there for our listeners on audio. You look very, very unsure on that. Is that why you feel we've got to get a striker in between now and the end of the window? Is that how you feel, Chris? We'll just get you on to unmute from your end.
Oh yeah, forgot about that. Thanks. We've been needing a striker since Harry came, but this, we're still exactly the same as we are right now. But,
you mean in addition to Dominic Solanke, you feel we need an additional striker?
Oh yeah,
Dominic Solanke?
Of course. We're going to need massive help on that. We're always going to need backup. I mean, even when we had Harry Kane, we needed a backup from him as well.
Yeah.
But with Richarlison, I do like him. I do, but he's not consistent, and it's the injuries as well that frighten me a lot. It's something that we can't ignore, and I just feel we've been crying for another striker for a long time now, and it's like I said, as soon as Harry Kane went, because when we did have Kane, he was the one that was able to score those late goals. He was the one that was having the leadership on the pitch. He was the one that was also creating assists for Son, and that's completely gone now. We've got rid of one of the best players that I've witnessed in a Tottenham shirt. in a long, long time. And we still haven't recovered from that. It's just absolutely absurd that we haven't even, been able to see this. And that's why I've said with Sonny, he's the one that's now been overtaken that and now got the huge amount of pressure. And, with all these games that we're now playing, I can't believe we're still in all these cup games and half our squad is injured. And, that's why he's massively struggling at the moment. So I've said it for, I don't know how many times with the transfer talk, that a striker is a priority, 100%. Yeah. I love Richie. I do. He does make me laugh with some of the comments on his social media. Richie, we're 15th in the league, and he comes back with, "Don't worry, I'm back playing." But it's the consistency. We need to get those, and of course, we need to get those goals, which is like the most important thing right now. We're not seeing that much, and with Solanke being injured now as well, of course, it's made a huge. You can really tell the difference with now that he's off the pitch. The amount of impact he did, and the hard work that he produced as well. It's crazy how bad it has gone down. It should be a number one priority for sure. Yeah. If that's going to get done, I have no idea. But I'm going to go back to what Jonny said. It's so irritating, the fact that I've not seen a huge signing from us in a long, long time. Someone that's made us excited. Someone that we feel is guaranteed to actually make a difference to our team. Someone that is going to bring in something seriously special. And, it's just all these players that have come and you think, maybe he'll start well and we'll see how he progresses. That's all the signings that we usually get. Apart from Solanke, because I actually think he's been one of our best signings for
he just
a
needs
long
support,
time.
doesn't he? He just needs support, Chris, doesn't he? The thing with Solanke is that you can see the abilities there, but they most certainly need support. This is the thing that we've said, obviously, consistently throughout, really, the tenure of Daniel Levy, that when players have been brought in, they've had to have support around them to get us where we want to be. Jonny, one that I know, look, at the moment doesn't appear to be one for now, but one for the future. How many times have I said that on Last Word on Spurs? God, I'd lost count of saying it. Is one in the situation of Tyler Dibling. We understand Spurs are in concrete talks with Dibling's management over a potential transfer. We understand also that RB Leipzig are continuing to do everything to sign the talented youngster. It's a typical signing where it wouldn't be one for this one, it'd be one for the summer. Jonny, I don't know if you agree. It's hard to get too excited about players we're bringing in for future windows where the help's needed now. Is that fair? He looks like a good young player, but we really need him now, not 6 months' time where who knows where we'll be.
Do you remember when they said, what's Archie Gray and Lucas Bergvall going to do for us? They're just kids. Yeah. Well, where would we be right now?
Yeah, you'd be right. Where would we be?
Yeah, so I've heard it all in the summer when the transfer window closed. Yep. Yes, they could have been more signings. Yes, there should have been more mature signings and with more experience. But these kids have performed above and beyond. They've been outstanding, absolutely outstanding. And Bergvall got a lot of criticism from fans for one performance. The guy's come from Sweden and they expect him, if he came from Italy, they'd expect him, to take 6 months to settle in. But an 18-month coming from Swedish football, they gave him 5 minutes to settle in. He has stepped up. He has performed way above some of the more experienced players. Tyler Dibling is from a long line of fantastic players that have come through that Southampton Academy. Gareth Bale, Walcott, James Ward-Prowse, Lallana, Luke Shaw. And basically Tyler Dibling is just another one in that long conveyor belt. And I agree. Do we want another young player? But he's a quality player. He really is really exciting. He averages more dribbles per 90 minutes than any other player in their team. He is the shining light in that Southampton team. And I would be amazed if we managed to pull that deal off, because he is that much of a beacon in that team. Again, he's out injured. I think he's out for about 6 weeks now.
If fitting well, then Jay, if we did bring it forward to this,
window, we are looking to build. Listen, and there's no point. I don't know why Spurs bother having a medical at the moment, because if you haven't got a history of an injury, you're likely to have one. Poor old Dom Solanke, he's had no history of them. He's had 2.
Yeah.
We might as well, Spurs are looking for a medical staff, no experience necessary. If you're out there and you've read a couple of books on medical and fitness, contact Tottenham now. I'm sure you'll be able to shout again.
They'll see you Monday.
Yeah. No, but listen, look, he's a quality player, and I understand that people thought that this kid's not going to do anything for us now. That would be your mindset. But I think the level of this kid is so high that he would in the long run. But obviously with him being out injured for the next 6 weeks, he's absolutely no use to us now. So I think this is a dead conversation, and it's something which we would look to try and do in the summer. But the competition will be fierce. And I fear that, we're not even in this ball game, unfortunately, for this one. It's a shame because I would really love him. I was a huge fan of Archie Gray last January, and I was upset that we didn't sign him. But here's another one. We'd have to really pull out all the stops. I don't know what we're going to do. I really don't. I mean, even the Colombian guy we were looking at, Richard Rios, the defensive centre midfielder, he plays for Palmeiras in Brazil. I think they signed him for about 2 million, and they wanted 35, 40 million for him. Forget it. We're not the only deals that we're going to do right now.
It'll be loans with obligations, mate. It'll be a loan with an obligation. You're looking
obligation or an option. That's it. I mean, I'm surprised that we haven't gone for a Kulu structured type deal where we've got an 18-month loan where we can spread the cost over, and then if we do the deal, we pay for it over the course of his contract over 5 years. So therefore, we can buy a top player for £40 million potentially with that structuring the deal that way, because we do not have the money right now to go and just blow 50, 60 million as much as the fan base would love it.
Yeah, I mean, Dave, just sticking with Dibling for a second, he's obviously, as Jonny has said there, a very young prospect, one off another conveyor belt that Southampton have had in a long line of rich players that have come through and done ever so well there and also elsewhere in their careers. Do you share Jonny's viewpoint that there's going to be a lot of fierce competition for him? It might be difficult for Spurs to get him right now. What's your take on it? And I suppose, again, is it one of those, Dave, just as a follow-up question, is it hard to be excited about a player that you're not going to see in this window, whereas we keep on emphasising we desperately need to see players come in this window to help the manager?
Yeah, look, don't get me wrong. From what I've seen of him this year, I think he's a very exciting player, a very exciting prospect. But we've already got a load of them around Tottenham. Even got some out on loan in the likes of Jamie Donnelly, players like that. Right now, it's not what we need. Postecoglou spoke about needing experience, leadership. You're not going to get that in a youngster. A youngster might come in and perform well, but he's not going to give you that leadership and the experience that we need in the situation we're in right now. It's all smoke and mirrors. We're never, ever going to get the complexities of that deal done by the end of this window. This will be one in the summer. But we need players for the here and now that are ready to come in and act, that, are 25 plus, that have experience behind them, that can bring a bit of leadership to what we've already got. You look at the Hoffenheim game yesterday. Look, like I said, we were always going to expect Tottenham to sit back in the second half because of fatigue. But you got an experienced player in there. He gets on that ball. He holds the ball, keeps possession. He alleviates pressure. It's what we need in this situation. Look, Dibling is a really good young player. But like I said, we signed them in the summer. We signed loads of them in the summer. We had an under-21 academy full of them that also won at under-17, under-18 level. What's it doing? All you're doing is adding to the young player pool that we've already got and probably starting to block up pathways of other players here at Tottenham Hotspur. We need players that are going to come in now and help alleviate this situation to get us higher up the table. Also, you're talking, if we get the right result there Thursday night, we're in the last 16 of Europe. You need players that can come in and make an impact now and try and salvage this season and salvage what you can. Try and make it a successful season. Try and bring in a player that can go up to Anfield and really make a difference. This is what we need right now, not these youngsters. This is what put Ange Postecoglou in this situation in the first place. Yes, Bergvall and Gray have come in and done well. They've done very well. But the reality is we shouldn't be relying on them to play the games that they are to the point where they're collapsing on their knees. They're supposed to be dipped in and out, gain experience over the course of the whole season. We need experienced players right now. I don't want to hear any more of Dibling or anything like that. We need experienced players right now in this situation.
Can I just add that? Sorry, I just wanted to add that Dibling right now would offer straight away into this team. I mean, he's strong.
Apart from being injured, but yeah, when he's fit.
Apart from being injured, I'm saying if he was fit right now, I mean, he's got the third most carries in the Premier League. He uses his pace. He's always looking to go forward. He's everything, even his physicality. He's everything that fits into Postecoglou's handball system. He's perfect for it. But as you say, he's injured. And as Dave says, we shouldn't be in this position at the midnight hour looking for a dance,
Look,
what a way to put it. What a way to put it, Jay. What a way to put it. Go on, Dave. Come back in there quickly.
No, look, I get what Johnny's saying, but if we're talking about going into the last 16 of Europe, you're talking about the likes of Liverpool's. You need someone that's been there and almost been there and done it, or has played at this level for a long time to be able to break down these teams.
I agree. Chris, look, I feel like this is a very similar kind of conversation that we have on a rhetoric every 6, 12, 18 months, whenever that window is coming to a close. I'm bored of asking the same question that we all probably know the answer to. Is Ange Postecoglou or ex-manager going to be backed between the end of the window? It just feels that if you're not backing him, then it's a complete, utter negligence. And what's the point of us being here or existing as Spurs fans? I've said this many, many times that I don't know times I can just keep on saying it. I just feel like we are merely now existing as a Spurs, as Spurs fans and as a club until we are going to get that investment coming that's going to hopefully push this club in a different direction. I mean, until then, it does feel a case of balancing the books. Chris, is that how you feel at the moment?
I mean, I kind of feel like, I don't know how you guys feel with how long Andrew's going to have left at the club here, but for me, I feel if we do get some signings, which I do think we will right at the last minute, we'll get something cheap.
How many do you think, Chris?
I feel like we'll get one signing personally.
Okay.
I think it would be like a cheap option, and then with that we're going to see with how we play, and then if it gets really bad, I feel like the heat is going to be more onto Ange, which therefore Levy I think is going to feel a bit safer for him to fire him, and that's basically his way of covering him up. I just always feel he gets shielded by situations like this. I'm hoping he has till the end of the season, Ange, personally for me, because with all these cup games that we've got, I know the Premier League at the moment, it's not great. We're 15th. It's not looking great. But for me, even if we are 15th and we end up winning a trophy, I feel actually quite happy with that, because I just feel like that is my priority as a fan. I want to see my team go out there and win something. I want to see a trophy for sure at the end of this season. With Europa, I actually think we've got a good chance. I was talking to Jonny about this just before. I actually do have a good feeling like something could turn around with all these poor performances. I actually do feel like maybe we could actually get something good out of it in the end. So yeah, that's how I'm standing. But it doesn't mean for these Premier League games that we need to push them aside and ignore the facts, and play poorly. We still need to go out there and get as many wins as we possibly can, especially when you've got games like Leicester who are poor, at the moment. I think they've had a loss the last, 5 games or so?
Yep.
So it's a game that we should win. We should be getting those 3 points. We're playing at home as well. It's another advantage for us. And it doesn't mean that we need to excuse Premier League at all. But, for me, I need to get a trophy, and the fact that we are still in these cup games, it blows my mind still. I just feel like we've got to take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, you said that, Chris, for you, just to clear up on the transfer aspect before we look ahead to Leicester. You said you feel there'll be one coming in your mind between now and the deadline, Chris. Yeah, you reckon one? I
think one. It'll be a cheap option. It'll be a cheap loan, something just to fill the gap. Obligation. That's what I think. Yeah.
Is that your gut feeling as well, Jay? You said it earlier in the show that for you feel if the club are going to do anything, it's going to most likely be a loan with an obligation to buy or an option to buy. Is that how you're going to see things pan out in this next week and a half of the window? You're not expecting any real massive surprises? I mean, to be fair, it has been, across the board, bar Man City, a fairly quiet window, but then City have had to act given where they are for themselves. And look, I appreciate they have got different expenditures to Tottenham, but I mean, again, I make this point. I know, again, I keep referencing. I know we've got some squad registration issues, but the reality is that when you're in need of what we're in now, I will keep on saying this, you've got to find a way to make things work. So, do you share Christina's situation there? You think it'll just be the one, Jay, or can you see anything else the club doing between now and that deadline coming to a close?
Well, I think, would you recommend your client to come to Tottenham Hotspur right now?
Not in their current position. I mean, that's why I think, again, it goes back to that point, isn't it? Like you're saying, you're probably be looking at a loan or an option, aren't you? Because that's the thing. Will a player want to tie their future to the club, given where we're at this season domestically? And you're right, it's a tricky sell right now. That is a tricky sell. You can't get away from that.
Yeah, because look, the thing is, do you want to go to Spurs? Well, the manager could be gone. And then if the new manager came in, he might not fancy us. We've been down this route so many times. We can't make that mistake again. So it has to be a loan. Listen, we don't want another Carlos Kickerball, another Pedro Kickerball, and not just a no-name player that just is, we made a signing. It's of no use. I'd rather not sign anyone than throw us a frigging bone like that. We don't want it. We just don't want it. You can't pull the wool over our eyes anymore. We've been through this, eat, sleep, repeat, over and over and over again. We're tired of it. We've had enough of it. And the fan base deserves more. We're the highest ticket prices in Europe, and we deserve more. I mean, listen, in the last 9 months, okay, we've won 9 times in the last 9 months, okay? And we have beaten Burnley, Sheffield United, Southampton, Everton, West Ham, Brentford, Man United, and Man City. And that's it. And
Twice.
That's it. Twice. Well, no, in the league. I'm talking about in the league. In the league, those are our only league wins. And 3 of those managers have been sacked. So, look, it's in a mess at the moment. The guy needs to be back now. As the saying says, put or get off the pot, right? It's time. Okay, we got 1 week left. Well, we got one. It's February the 3rd.
Week and a half. I think we will pull something out the bag. It's like a lucky dip. What are we going to pull out? Yeah,
come on, TV, get your wallet out. Surprise the fan base. Make the show on the 31st or on the 3rd, where Ricky has an emergency show, and he reveals this amazing signing. We'd love it all, but my feeling is that it's going to be another damp squib.
Can I just say, I'm just so fed up with all of these considering, looking, interested. I am
monitoring,
flirting, whatever. It's not Tinder. Just go and buy someone, for Christ's sake.
It is like every analogy before Love Island, before they go and scoop the bird.
Correct.
I want to say, coming over to David and look to close this debate as we look ahead to Leicester. Dave, how do you feel in terms of what we're going to end up with, if anything? Do you feel the same as what the guys have spoken about here? It's going to most likely be an option or obligation, given where we are currently in the league table and the fact that, as we said, it is hard to attract a certain caliber of players where we are at the moment. What's your gut telling you between now and the rest of the window, Dave?
Look, I think, like Jonny said, I think it's going to be a damn squid. I think you might get a player in on loan. The time for us to act has been and gone. In the January transfer window, it's notoriously a difficult enough market to operate in, because other clubs usually want to get their replacement in before they allow that player to go. Well, that time for them to do their business is dwindling very, very quickly. The January window, you've had journalists on here to speak about it being a knock-on effect. Well, the time for us to do that is gone. The fact that we weren't out here 1st of January, even the first week of January, out there trying to put bids in, test teams for their players, tells me everything I need to know. And now the time is running out. You're entering a period where a player might pop up on loan, and that's about it, unfortunately. You might see maybe someone like Fraser Forrester leave the football club. Brandon Austin looks like he's in there as number 2 now. Kinski, Vicario come back. You might see him leave. You might see a couple of youngsters being sent out on loan, like Tyrese Hall, Will Lancashire, maybe to a degree. That's all you're going to see from Tottenham Hotspur, and then our classic, contract renewal on deadline day. That's all we're going to see. That's all we're going to get.
How many, Dave, are you going to go for?
Huh?
How many, Dave, are you going to go for? Off the back of that.
One player in on loan.
You know what's interesting? We can't do a deal with Johan Lang. Yet the team that he left have managed to pull in, not even in desperate need, but they've managed to pull in 2 signings, Villa. They've managed to do 2 already. What are we doing? What are we doing? Is our need not greater than Aston Villa's? I think so.
Absolutely, it is. Look, we will obviously keep you updated on here with regards to what is going to happen for the rest of the January transfer window. But that is where we stand at the moment in terms of the latest news in regards to this transfer window. Spurs being linked with a move for Ajax striker Brobbey. That has been shouted down, kind of say, by sources at Sky Sports. They're led to believe Spurs are going to be turning their attention to an alternative centre forward. Those links continue to be there for the likes of, as we've said, even Ferguson. There are links to Matis Cunha, but again, we need to just put that out there that Cunha is just one player. That's, again, one of Tottenham being many clubs linked with him. I think it's fair to say that he will have his pick of clubs to choose from. And listen, it'd be great if he was to choose Tottenham, don't get me wrong. I think at the moment, given where we are, that might be a tricky sell, but we'll see what happens for the rest of this January transfer window. We're going to go for our next break of the show. For our listeners and audio, taking that break, you're going to hear from Jamie from Leicester Fan TV, who's going to give you a comprehensive look as to what Leicester are making of just how big a game it is for them at the weekend against Tottenham. I'm going to bring you in that information now as to where we stand on Tottenham going into that game against Leicester City. And Postecoglou held his pre-match presser on Friday, in which he once again reiterated the news that Dominic Solanke is going to be out for, at the moment, a minimum of 6 weeks, but the cavalry is understood to be coming back very gradually at Tottenham, just so everybody has got an update as to where we stand in terms of injuries. We understand Romero and Van der Ven are around a week away apart from returning to action, while Destiny Udogie posted earlier on social media during the week that he is 70% towards being ready to come back. There is also speculation in French media at the moment that Wilson Odobert will be back on the training pitch as early as potentially February or March. But again, Spurs are going to take a cautious approach given just how long he has been out for Tottenham. Like I say, a sign that came in, saw him in a couple of glimpses that we saw against Everton, got injured, haven't seen him since. Other news to bring to you, and again, it's not great news again for Tottenham in terms of that injury front. Obviously, a reminder that Jed Spence and Sergio Reguilón were ineligible for the European game against Hoffenheim. Ange confirmed on Friday in his press conference that Jed Spence is currently a doubt going into this game. And also a doubt at the moment is Pat Matassar, also with currently some soreness with regards to an injury. So again, one to keep an eye on with regards to Pape. So that's both Jed and Pat being doubts for this game. And on top of that, we're also really going to be last minute on the news whether Yves Bissouma is going to be able to feature in this one. So it's really not letting up for Tottenham in terms of that injury front. And Ange, again, has insisted the fact that he is going to work with what he's got. He's also shot down the fact that they may look to bring either Manos Solomon or Brian Hill back to the football club, and confirming that there is no active release clause in either, or release or recall clause in each of those players' respective clubs that they're at the moment. So Spurs will make do with what they have got. And I think we know just how big the Leicester game is. I mean, Chris, look, bless you're going to be there. So, I mean, how important is it that I feel this game here, there's going to be a lot of nerves in that stadium. Leicester are also on a horrendous run of form, which we'll come on to, and just where they are in their campaign. I think they've just won the once in the Premier League under Ruud van Nistelrooy right at the very, very start of his reign. And it came to a point in the last few weeks where they're actually chanting that he doesn't know what he's doing on the sidelines. It feels like, I could go back to that point. It's going to be an interesting atmosphere at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, fair to say, on Sunday. How do you see this playing out? How much do you feel that we're going to need the fans, as you said earlier in the show, to get behind the team, given the nature of the decimation of injuries that we're looking at right now, and how big this game is in terms of just trying to put some daylight between us and those bottom half teams of the table?
Yeah, it's the fans need to, I've said it earlier, but the fans really need to get behind the team for sure. Even whatever your judgment is on Ange, push it to the side, because we really want, these players to go ahead and go for it. We want those 3 points on Sunday. It's so important. I just feel, this is a good chance for us to get a win. It's felt a long time since we've had a win in the Premier League. Why don't we try and go for it on Sunday at least? But I just, as well, I know it's been it's been miserable, absolutely miserable for Spurs fans right now. But I think with the game yesterday, put the performance aside, we got the job done, and that's what I want them to do on Sunday. I don't. It doesn't matter how we do it. I just want us to get those 3 points. And it's for the youngsters as well, because I'm sure that they're going to be put under more pressure on Sunday. I'm sure we're going to see more of them coming on, and do it for them as well, because who else have they got at the moment? They're our last options right now, and I just it's so difficult because I know us fans right now are seriously down with the whole situation, and there's so much frustration going on. But let's get behind the team and go for it, because if we get that one win, let's boost up the confidence now. Hopefully we get to see more players coming back now. Ramiro, I don't know with Spence if he's going to be coming back soon. Hopefully that is just going to be a more positive side now. So we just got to really drag ourselves to the end of the season. We really do. And just go out there and give it your best, basically. I
agree. You said there, Chris, we got very little in terms of being able to rotate. And Blaine Devlin says, Jonny, I tagged you earlier on this. I reckon Crouchy should do a shift for us. We're that desperate right now. And Blaine, we are in that state of things where you might want to consider players coming out of retirement. I mean, it's interesting, Chris. I totally agree with everything you're saying there. It's a case where we're going to need players to give their absolute everything, and hopefully that's going to be enough. But I just wonder, Dave, coming over to you, how important you feel the first goal might be in this game. It's a Leicester side that's very much low on confidence. They're not on great form right now. There's question marks around Ruud van Nistelrooy leading them in terms of their Premier League campaign. There's talk they already may be looking at a potential alternative manager. That's despite letting Steve Cooper go at the start of the season. How important, going back to that point, Dave, will the first goal be in this game? Because I think confidence for both clubs is so low, and especially being at home, I think we need to give, respectively, both fans and players a lift. Do you see that being the most important thing? Do you see the first goal being the real key factor as to the way this game goes?
Yeah, of course it is. I think, if it goes against us, I think, whatever goodwill there is from the fans, which, to be fair, you to turn up to every home game, every away game, full voice expecting the result. I think you sort of, you kill the atmosphere to a large degree. And, many Spurs fans start thinking, oh, here we go again. And the Spurs fans are thinking that, no doubt, the manager, the players, etc., everybody within the situation is feeling that as well. So for me, I think the first goal is really important to lay down the marker. But also, when you look at how fatigued the players that we're using, that we've got left right now are, for me, it's all about going at them in the first half, trying to use the pitch big and wide, stretch them, try and make them tired and try and cut them open, create a few chances, score a few goals in the first half. And then in the second half, I think you probably end up seeing the drop-off that we've seen in Hoffenheim. These players can't keep pressing and running like that for 90 minutes. So you probably see a bit of a drop-off. But I do think that Postecoglou hopefully would turn to the likes of Olasesi again. He did have a bit of he did help when he came on. He got on the ball, drove us up the pitch, brought us forward, So I hopefully Postecoglou realizes that some of these youngsters can have that impact rather than keeping a player out there that's on his legs that can't move, which has come back to cost us at times this season. But we have to be clinical tomorrow. Look, I don't really think we're going to see a great performance. I think you're going to see a bit of a mix where you see first half we'll try and get on the ball and play, second half we'll sit back. But it's all about taking our chances. I think Bentancur is absolutely crucial when he came back in against Hoffenheim. Not only does he screen that back for breaking up play and stuff like that, but also on the ball, just the amount of players that run off him when he gets the ball because they're so confident with him on the ball. I also think it allows Maddison to play a bit higher up the pitch without having to do as much defensive work, which means you get a lot better out of him as well. So I think Bentancur is absolutely crucial. Same with James Maddison. And then you're just hoping that Son, off the back of that goal, that he's found a little bit of confidence. The first goal you could see didn't strike it clean. He got the fortune, but the second goal was a lot more crisp, a lot more clean. And you're just hoping that now that he's feeling a little bit more confident, he takes what chances comes his way, because he's had big chances in big games this year that he's missed. He had 2 against Fulham in the first half, 2 against Everton, 1 against Chelsea when the game was in the balance. And he's missed them opportunities. So for me, we really need him on fire. Kulusevski, I'll be honest, I'm not sure if I want to start him or not. Don't get me wrong, he's our best player going forward. He if we're going to break the opposition down, it usually comes from him. But you could see there against Hoffenheim, this guy is out on his legs. His mind is telling him to do things. He's trying to beat players, but he just doesn't have in his legs to power past them the way he did earlier on in the season. So for me, I think, to avoid a Kulusevski injury, which will be damaging long term, I think you've got to go with someone like Mikey Moore and give him his opportunities. He'll have 2 assists off the bench just to freshen it up and give someone like Kulusevski a rest. Don't get me wrong. I know the importance of this. We need to win games of football. At the end of the day, you win games of football. That's where you buy-in. That's where people start believing. But he has to manage the Kulusevski, and I think you put him out in this game, I fear the worst.
I think Dave, you make some really valid points there. And, again, I think this is where we've said this on a number of occasions, that how is Ange going to be able to manage with what actually he's got to work with. And, Jay, we look at what his options are there. I mean, is it hard, given the run we're on, the form we're on domestically, to be able to give Kulu a break, be able to give Gray a break? You said it earlier. Do we have the options there where I think we all know there's a massive drop-off from Kulu to maybe our other respective forward options right now? Can we afford to do that, given our form right now and just how important that Leicester game is, Jonny?
Do you want to rest them or do you want to break them? I
don't know. But in the context of it, how big is the result for Tottenham? Again, you look at it, the result is so important for the club that we, as you said, we shouldn't really be in this position. We're having to just have this discussion. It's crazy and mind-blowing how we are sitting here right now on the 24th of January as we record this show, that we have not given a manager more support in the obviously window, and that's despite the issues I keep saying it's around the registration and all that stuff that's around it. He's clearly needed help. He's clearly needed support. And is there any sense of rotation, Jonny, that could give us still a good chance to win the game if you are going to give the likes of Gray, Bergvall, the likes of Kulusevski? I dread to think giving him a rest, only because I'm worried about what we've got to replace him out there.
Ange should have done rotation at the beginning of the season. Listen, that's for another show.
Yeah,
but the
I think many feel that as well. I mean, look, the reality is,
Yeah.
I know, just to back up your point there, many will look at the fact I think Bergvall, Gray, Spence, these guys didn't play till early December. So there's an argument that you had the opportunity earlier in the campaign to definitely rotate them. I just think where we are now, where we are now, unfortunately, the limitation of that has already been done. Let's be honest about it. The damage limitation has been done. We're now in a situation where we've got very little options to rotate, to adjust, to be flexible for the game. Do you just start what is your best team on paper and then just bring the players off? Because again, Ange will know. I mean, you saw actually on the back of the game, there was a real relief on his face to get a win for the camp, for the morale. We saw that image go up, of course, as well in Madison. It feels like it feels like a massive game for the football club, for Ange as well. We've got to get 3 points. So on that basis, Jonny, do you just have to pick the best available players to get the 3 points?
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm amazed at how many fans said they don't care about the league game. The league's done and dusted.
Well, got to keep winning. It's a bread and butter. You've got to keep winning league games. Got to keep winning league games.
Yeah, listen, look, I'm just saying what it is. For them, the most important thing is the cups. The league's gone. We're 13 points.
As a priority, I think we all sit here today and acknowledge the cups are a priority. But at the same time, what do you just want the player? Do you just want the players to throw in the towel every week in the Premier League? There's fans out there that have spent a huge amount of money on season tickets to go home and away watching their side.
Correct.
What, you just wanted to completely dismiss the games? I mean, come on.
But this is what's going on in the fan base right now. I mean, look, for me, you go strong. For me, Bentancur is the glue that binds everything together in that midfield. The transition, the way he picks up the ball from Romero when he's there and moves the ball forward. I mean, he started both moves for 2 of the goals. He was just showing signs to be back to the Bentancur that we saw before that terrible injury. He is so important to this team. He really, really is. And if we can keep him fit, we can start to improve, but he needs players around him. I don't see how we drop Kulu. I hear what Dave's saying, and I agree with him. Listen, I'm a huge fan of Callum, and it was great to see him play yesterday. But I agree. I would start Mikey Moore. I would maybe. Well, listen, look, Richie should not have played more than about 30, 40 minutes. He should have come on as a sub in that second half. He shouldn't have played 60 minutes. I mean, he was puffing after 35, 40 minutes, pressing. Yeah, he's not going to get any let up from the fans about his performance. But you're going to have to give him a couple of games, maybe 2 or 3 games to get match fit, because he's not match fit. But I think he'll start with Richie through the middle. I might even, if I'm honest, put Mikey Moore on that right hand side. I think Mikey Moore on the right, play Son on the left, and mix up the midfield. But look, there'll be 2 Leicester players there: Oliver Skipp and Harry Winks, trying to prove a point.
Anthony Costa, I can hear you already, Anthony Costa. My phone's ringing.
Yeah, you know he's going to be at it, And listen, look, I quite like Buonanotte, the Brighton boy who's there on loan.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of pace. And they've got their new signing, Wowo Kabali, right, who they bought for even they've managed to do a signing. Amazing. I know he's only a few million centre-back from Parma, but they managed to get a deal. Hey, Lange, if you're watching, pull your finger out.
They're always watching. They're always watching.
Listen, look, this team.
Whether they do anything, doesn't matter, but they're always watching.
Yeah, they might be watching. But listen, look, I agree. We start strong, and then we have to try and hang on. But I think we need to bring on some of these kids, right? Because Dave and I have seen them play a lot, and they're not going to let you down. They proved they're not going to let it down. Mikey Moore, 2 games, 2 assists, right? Yeah. Callum came on, he brought the ball forward. He came forward with the ball with confidence. He's a really beautiful player, right? I know he's only 17, and he shouldn't really be in the first team as we speak. But hey, needs must. Yeah, and if the players are on the floor, I mean, we haven't even spoken about Pedro Porro. I mean, when's he going to get a rest?
I know.
Seriously.
Yeah, but that's, do you know as well, with these players, like with Pedro Porro and that Kulu, like they get a lot of criticism at the moment for their performance, but they can't help it. They're absolutely knackered. It's just, they're running out on fuel. But I agree. I think Mikey Moore would be great. I think we just need someone who's got energy now. And I think he's going to be like fresh legs on the pitch. I think it'd be really good for him as well to start. And I think let's do it. Bring him on. I think it would be a great idea to get him on. But Ange, it's over to you.
It's over to Ange. Dave, you were saying in the background. Dave, what was you going to say there on that point?
I was going to say on Pedro Porro, the most minutes he's played this season, and I think since Ange Postecoglou's arrival. It's interesting that he came out and said the other day that he does recovery and everything else outside of Tottenham Hotspur. And I think, it was in relation to an article coming out about players being injured and training methods and stuff that. And I just wonder, was there a slight dig at other people who seem to always be on the injury table that maybe they're not doing the right things outside of football and stuff like that? I think, very interesting from Pedro Porro because, the amount of games he's played and the fatigue is starting to affect his performances, but he's never injured. Same with Kulusevski he's another one he spoke about, everything he's doing outside of football, etc. And I just wonder, could a lot of players around Tottenham Hotspur learn off these guys and what they're doing outside of the game? So that's one of my biggest problems at Tottenham. I think they're very happy to come here, collect the wage. They put in performances when they feel like it, then they don't. For me, there should be Porro and Kulusevski should be using this example. If you want the best out of your career, even just for yourself, forget about Tottenham, even just for yourself, this is what you should be doing.
Yep. I totally agree, Dave, on that point. I mean, just to bring in Leicester's form and where they are at, which, again, this will hopefully give some confidence. It will also kind of ram home the fact of just how poor their season has been, just to be very, very clear. Leicester have had only knockout success so far in 2025, a 6-2 decimation of QPR in the FA Cup third round, sandwiched in between a harrowing septet of consecutive Premier League losses, just 3 days on from going 2-0 down at home to Palace. Ruud van Nistelrooy's men suffered the exact same fate when they paid a visit to Fulham, succumbing to a brace from Emil Smith-Rowe and a diving header from Adama Traore. Only Southampton have performed worse than Foxes this season, 19th place they are, and the gap to safety is just 2 points. They'll be encouraged by the fact that Ipswich and Wolves have faced the top 2 this weekend in Liverpool and Arsenal. However, what is not encouraging for them is that it is just 1 win in 14, and Leicester are yet to keep a clean sheet. I don't want to read things like this because I know Ant will be on my case after I've read this out. Why am I doing this? Yet to keep a clean sheet away from home in the 24-25 season. Oh, if Tottenham will see you now, I don't know what I'm going to say. There's got to be a Dr. Leicester out there in there for us. Is there a Dr. Leicester out there for us? A Dr. Fox is out there for us, Johnny? Is there such a thing as a Dr. Fox? What do you reckon, Jay? Let's bring you off. Dr. Fox?
I listen, I'm going to go for a massive victory. I'm just going to go all in. I think they are so poor.
They are so poor.
I actually.
What about us?
Yeah, I know, but we're different kind of poor.
You're
right?
meant to be keeping us balanced. You're meant to be keeping
Sorry.
us picking us up here.
Listen, I've got so much grief. I got so much grief for being upset about last night's performance against the Hoff. But listen, I think we'll concede a goal, but I'm actually going to go for Richarlison scoring. I think it's going to be a fest, right, tomorrow, and I'm going to go for a 4-1 victory. And I don't ask why. I don't know where it's coming from, but I just think that somehow or other we need a performance, and I don't know where it's going to come from. But I'd like, if we start with Mikey Moore, I think I need to see the team sheet. But if we start with Mikey Moore, if we start with Mikey Moore, and we're going with a bit of youth, I think that we could. I think we could do well. But I want Archie Gray rested. I really do. I want him rested. I want Reggie on. Bite the bullet, Ange. Okay. Don't cut off your nose to spite your face.
I don't think he can, though, Jay. He actually said in his presser that, Reguilon, he's got to consider him, because ultimately, what else has he got left? He's going to have to consider him, whether he likes it or not.
But listen, look, the guy's played for Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Man United. He's good enough to come and play for 20 minutes for Tottenham. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's it. Whatever you think, Ange, you were wrong about Spence. You were wrong about Bergvale. And, you were forced to play Gray, and they've all been rewarded. Those three guys have stopped you from being in a position it could have been a whole lot worse. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
If Jed Spence hadn't have come on for the injured Destiny Udogie, right, and scored that goal in the 87th minute, we wouldn't even be talking about a semi-final against Coventry.
Liverpool.
So sometimes, through adversity, something happens and changes the season. It happened for Jed, and let's hope that Reggie gets some minutes, Archie gets a rest, and we go onward and upward and start a winning run.
Amen. Jay, prediction, what are we going for?
4-1.
4-1. Okay, perfect. That's what we need to get us on our way. Johnny's giving predictions like that. We should be excited.
Pills. I'm just going to take my pills now.
Chris, it's coming to you. What are you going to go for?
Oh, gosh. I'm going to go for I want a clean sheet. I'm going to go for a 2-0. And I want a Mikey Moore goal. And I want a Maddison goal. That's what I'm going to go for.
Let's hope they're right. Chris, thank you so much. We're going to see you back here very, very soon. There have been relatable transfer shows throughout this period, I'm sure. Let's see what they're going to bring us, but we love having you on here, Chris. Thank you so much. I know, like I say, for all of us right now, it's testing times in the fan base. We all want more. Look, we come off the back of that win. Let's hope we can follow up and make it 2-2. And look, we've got 2 predicting wins so far, which is great. Let's go to Dave to hopefully close on a full house. I think we will get the job done, but I've got to be honest here, I don't think it's going to be easy. I'm going to go for 2-1 Tottenham. I just think it's going to be one of those scrappy affairs. And where I agree with Dave is that this is not going to be pretty. I think it's going to be one of those games where it is going to be a real slog. And that's purely on the basis of what each teams have kind of been through so far this season, our current circumstance with injuries, and the fact that it's going to be, I think, in my opinion, a very, very nervous Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I might be wrong. I mean, you said that, Dave, didn't you, when you were introing this game, that you understand on this one here for you, it's going to be a difficult game here where there's 2 very much low confidence teams league-wise that both need points.
Yeah, look, it's 2 teams that both need points, but also you factor in we've got Europe. Usually
you can't go away from that. It's a massive key, that being away in Germany, 100%.
Exactly. Going into the weekend, we've seen our performance levels drop off, even under Pochettino, other managers. When you come in off the back of Europe, your energy levels drop off 5, 10, 15%. But saying that, I think, we should have more than enough quality on the pitch to be able to outscore them and put 3 points on the board. But I agree with you. I think it's going to be a long, hard slog, but I'm going to go with 2-1 Tottenham to edge it on the day. We might even go 2-0 up with us shooting ourselves in the foot somewhere along the line just to make it a nervy 20 minutes, just to get us back into routine. We're not allowed anything nice and easy here at Tottenham Hotspur.
Absolutely not. And like I say, it's going to be a real tense game, but one that Spurs have to win. And I will just encourage everybody that's in that stadium, as they will be as well, get behind the team, get behind the lads. You know, it's going to be a tough game, and one that Spurs are going to win. It sounds crazy saying that against Leicester, who are in the bottom three, saying it's a tough game. But the reality is that, you know, these games, they are tough. They're never really, I mean, look, we get a couple of early goals and we go to blow them away, fantastic. But, you know, experience, as fans tell us, when you've got these kind of games where you've seen your team in the form that they're in, these are never, ever easy games. And Jamie Vardy, as we know, got to keep him quiet. Got to watch that ball over the top. You know, Jonny spoke about earlier about some of the players that Leicester have got there. You know, we've got to keep them quiet, and we've got to just do our job and hope the likes of Richie can put us through and get us a win in a tough period for the football club. I want to say a massive thank you to the wonderful Christina Zandes. Chris, we're going to see you very soon. Bless you. Thank you so much. Coming back on for this one, the wonderful Jonny, Hammé. Jonny, thank you so much. You'll be there, I know, on Sunday. They're all toughers now. They're all toughies. We know they're toughies, but we're going to hang in there. And we've got the wonderful Dave on from the Irish Hotspur. Dave back with us next week as well, as we see where we are in the closing of the transfer window. Again, I want to say a massive thank you to over at least 6,000-7,000 of you that are watching the show live. Thank you so much for all your incredible support for the show. Go hit like, go hit subscribe. Please go and check out much more of what's going on over in Jonny's network of places. They've got Football Inc. with him and Sean that are talking everything in Tottenham. That might not be a bad idea right now in terms of what they're putting us through. So go and check it out. You've got the wonderful David, the Irish Hotspur, that will provide you with match day coverage as always. David, wishing you all the very best of luck. As I say, in Ireland right now, and there's that very difficult storm that you have to deal with over there. So, mate, we wish you obviously all our love, all our support, and please, God, we see you through the other side of that and you're going to be okay. And Chris, just keep on keeping us upbeat, because you are one of, I know, many people on this show people turn to when there's times like this, and they look at you as somebody that, you know, has always kept things together. It's been a tough season. I know for you as well, it's been tough. I know you're a very positive fan, but it's been testing, hasn't it? It's been very testing.
Very testing. Just try and keep the faith, guys. I don't, like, you know, I keep trying to remind you, all these players, they're humans at the end of the day, and they're trying to get the best that they can. So let's just try and get behind them and, you know, cheer for those boys on Sunday and hope for the best.
Oh, man. Chris, lovely words to close it on there. Guys, we have been the last one on Spurs. Please keep safe, keep well. We'll back you after Leicester. What's going to happen? Who knows? We need a win. Look, thank you so much as always for your support. Take care. And as always, come on, you Spurs, please.